Intrusion detection. It's best to detect the attacker before they get inside your secure area. That just makes common sense. We have all sorts of different technological means for doing so. Infrared. Along the electromagnetic spectrum, infrared is at the left or right of detectable light, visual light spectrum. I think it's the left, isn't it? Roy G. Biv. Yeah, it's on the left, right?
What's infra mean?
Infra means less than? Ooh. What? Huh?
Less than red.
Less than red, right?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. And ultraviolet's on the far right, so it's more than violet. Yeah, okay, good. Good. All right. Thank you, Andy. There's passive and there's active. Difference between the two? Difference between the two? Passive, you're blanketing it with infrared, and it can see something moving through that field. Active, you're actually sending it out to a receiver. Something breaking that beam is going to chime and let the sales associate know that you've entered the store, right? Good.
Unless it's obscured by a whole bunch of darkness and fog, as we learned recently.
Fog obscures infrared. Does that depend on the frequency?
I don't know. We bought an off-the-shelf infrared I-beam in a very dark, foggy room. It didn't go off when people walked through it.
That's good to know, isn't it? Yeah.
It might have been like the amount of dispersal or something. Sure.
Okay. All right. And that's why it's always funny in movies when, they always say, we got to break in and steal the jewels and get through this laser grid. And you always see the lasers, right? The lasers are always visible.
That's why the fog was there, so you could see the lasers.
Well, you want to see it. What's the point of buying a laser if you can't see it, right? No, absolutely. Just lose all the cool points. Good. Microwaves. Very similar to the passive infrared. You get a pattern of microwave energy. You get the signal based on that, and that's your baseline of no intrusion. Anytime that changes, now you have an alarm that goes off, and you have to send somebody to take a look at it. Bistatic microwaves use a volumetric detection field between transmitter and sensor. What do I mean by volumetric? What's the easy way of saying volumetric?
Measures volume.
Okay, 3D. Yeah. It gives you a space. Instead of a beam, you're getting a space. Monostatic, it's going to send out a beam and get receiving. Look at the receiving. Huh?
Look at the bounce.
Look at the bounce. What's that similar to?
Radar.
Radar or sonar. Exactly. You're emitting something, getting a signal back. Good. You can put a coax strain-sensitive cable on your fence. That way, if your fence is shaking, that way, if your fence is moving at all, it can actually give you a detect. What's the problem with that one? What are the risks associated with that?
Lots of false positives.
Huge false positives, especially if you're in Kansas, right? You're getting a lot of wind every time that thing shakes. Every rabbit that hits that fence, you're getting a detect, right? It might not be the best solution for you. You can also do time domain reflectometry, which is fun to say. Reflectometry. Ooh, good word. You're actually using the fence as detection. If the fence is cut, it's changing the field, the signal that the baseline was established, and it will tell you not only that the fence is being cut, but what else?
It's being climbed or touched or anything like that.
Good. And not only does it tell you that there's an attempt to intrude, but it tells you something else. Where? Along that fence, because it can measure the time from that signal to that flaw. So you can actually send response in a much more effective manner, which is pretty cool. You also can do it in a closed loop so that even if the cable itself is cut, you know where it was cut along that line. Good. Videos in motion. The big thing right now seems to be capture technology, where we want to be able to interpret malicious activity automatically, where we give the computer the power to be able to detect what's good and what's bad. We also want to, in some cases, be able to detect facial features. Thus far, while there have been a lot of vendors claiming incredible success with these things, I don't think we've seen any real good efficacy coming out of scientific testing, that it's real easy to obscure what your facial features are. Anyone in here ever grow facial hair on a regular basis? Yeah, good. So it's going to be hard to detect those things. Countermeasures are always going to be in place to defeat the technology. The algorithms are getting better. Anyone know what market really wants to use these things? There's a commercial application for these things, not a security application, but a commercial market that's using these as much as they can to automate the process. Somewhere that has 24-hour customer service, and they need really, really good video surveillance constantly. ATMs is good. I don't know if they're going for identification of malicious behavior yet.
You're either thinking of Walmart or casinos.
Casinos. They've constantly been pushing in this direction. They really want to be able to identify malicious behavior. They've gone so far as to hire fraudsters and cheaters to sit in front of green screens and repeat over and over again the ways that they would cheat so that the computer can learn what it is that they're doing and use that as a model. I don't think they've actually been all that successful thus far. It's still cheaper to have a well-trained person sitting in that eye in the sky and watching and knowing what they're doing. Lighting. Even if you've got video up, especially if you've got video up, you need to be able to light your areas. Also, I've known of at least one case where lighting starts to play a part in liability. If you don't have your parking lot lighted, if you don't have your common area lighted, and something bad happens to someone in that area, they can sue you on the basis that you were not performing due diligence of creating a secure environment. You should have known better. Down to the fact that federal law actually tells you what the standards are for lighting certain specific kinds of areas. It's 0.2 foot candles within a perimeter, 0.5 in landscaped areas. What's a foot candle? Anybody know? If you have a sphere 1 foot in diameter, and there is a light source directly in the center of 1 candela of power, it's how the light would be dispersed evenly among the inner surface of that sphere. That's 1 candle power. How much is a candela? I have no idea. I couldn't tell you how much a candela looks like. But they do show up on tests. Light increases the effectiveness of your other deterrent systems. Guards can't see in the dark unless you have giant hybrid cat people guards, which are really cool but uber expensive because the genetic engineering is only coming out of Sweden. Light is also a deterrent. People don't like to break into places when they think that other people can see them. Anyone a homeowner in here? Okay. When you bought your home, have you ever availed yourself of that service that local law enforcement will do where you can call the police, they'll send somebody out and do a security survey of your property and give you advice? Almost every jurisdiction will do that for free. And they're very friendly and extremely knowledgeable. They base their security and risk assessment off what?
What they know.
And what do they know? How do they know what they know?
All the statistics that they've gathered throughout the years.
Yeah, they've been to break-ins. They've seen actually what robbers are doing to get in. Their statistics are probably the best ones. And they'll add, the police officer who actually shows up can add their own anecdotal evidence to your neighborhood as well. I find that somewhat more powerful than a home security alarm installer or someone who's doing a security assessment of your property based on what their system can protect against, because they have an inherent conflict of interest. They want to sell you the system. The cops don't, right? All right. What do cops say? What is the number one recommendation they give you about securing your home? Anyone guess?
Light.
Put some floodlights out front. It can be decorative. You know, there's those nice ones that you set in the yard and shine up on the house, or the ones that are affixed from the eaves and shine out. Depending on your neighborhood and your rules, you might not be able to shine a certain foot candle power or a certain wattage because it might interfere with the neighbors, but light is a great deterrent. Fairly cheap. They have those motion sensors now. You can just get them at Radio Shack, and they just install they screw right into the light socket. 4 types of systems. Continuous light, obviously the most expensive because it's always being run. You know, it's always taking your electric. Standby, we have those motion sensors. We have trips. There's all those different things. A lot of garages have them now. Movable lights, those are in the old World War II movies. The Germans always had them in the tower of the camp so they could, you know, yell in German as they move the lights around, right? Emergency, again, just simple. They come on when something bad goes on. Those are the emergency lights, right? The fire alarm goes off, those lights come on. Good. Types of different lights. Fluorescent, very cost effective. Not good for outdoors, and a lot of people don't like working under fluorescent light. It kind of, for me, it kind of aggravates my eyes. I don't like it. You see it a lot in what settings?
Work settings.
In work settings, yeah. In labs, you see it a lot because it's a very distinct kind of glare. It offsets what you're doing. Hospitals, you see it a lot in hospitals, a very industrial kind of light. Mercury vapor. Very good, nice, soft light. Takes a long time to turn on. Traditionally, anyone think of a facility that used mercury vapor lights regularly? Somewhere in the gym?
Yeah.
Anyone think of what it is?
School.
If you went to a fancy school. Racquetball courts. Racquetball courts often used mercury vapor lights. Very soft, nice, warm light inside an enclosed room, but it would take 10 minutes to warm them up. You'd have to turn them on and wait for the lights to come on. Traditionally, if you were leaving the racquetball court, you didn't turn off the lights as a courtesy to the next people coming in. Sodium vapor. They can actually help cut through fog. Hey, maybe use some sodium vapor to offset your infrareds, okay? Quartz, very bright, high wattage, expensive. What are the new good lights that everybody's kind of turning to right now? I've got one for my bicycle. LEDs, they're super bright. A buddy of mine, he actually does field supervision, does a lot of field work. He showed me his old mag light, the giant 6D cell light, and he shined it on the wall, leaving the lights on. And it was a soft white circle patch, and he pulled out his little LED mag light, like 3 AA cells, and shined it on the wall, and it lit the sucker up. I was very impressed, very impressed. These are different levels suggested standard for what kind of power you want, what kind of illumination you're going to want. Are there infrared illuminators? Yes, it's a form of active infrared. Some night vision goggles use this technology. It can flood an area to, so to speak, light it up for certain kinds of closed-circuit television. Black and white. You can't get color images off of it. It can be very effective. Doesn't bug your neighbors. What also doesn't it do? If it doesn't bug your neighbors, what does it not provide you?
Doesn't scare off attackers.
It's not a deterrent. It's not a deterrent. If they don't know that it's there, it's not really deterring anybody. It allows you to be covert in your surveillance. I've seen these on home security nanny cams. You can buy them out of the box for like $100, and built into a tiny unit about the size of a pack of cigarettes, it will send out its own active infrared in a dark room and light it to the point where you can actually make out figures. Maybe not faces, but you can see some pretty good activity. If it's being used And there are certain night vision goggles that can detect it. What's the one big risk? If you have incredibly sophisticated movie-style thieves, they can put on the NVGs, and you're lighting up the area for them, too. Yeah. Most of us don't work in Hollywood.